Hello to you, fans of Yamaha synthesizers. In this video we will install, configure and uninstall the CasmEdit program. We will also talk a little bit about the portable version of the program. Let's start with installing the program. We type CasmEdit into the browser. The very first search result leads to this simple site that only has one link. This is to download CasmEdit setup. Let's do it. Save the file. The download is in progress. The download is complete. So do you want to run the file? Yes, we want to run the file. Select the installation language. Let it be English. This will install version 3.1.1.1. We'll keep the default installation path. Well, everything seems to be ready. Now create a shortcut on the desktop. Next, install. The installation is complete. A shortcut has been created on the desktop to launch the program. Let's do a trial run of the program. It seems to work. Now let's configure the program. Select the main menu item, File, Setup. And here, in tabs, there are different settings, which we will discuss now. The first tab is Basic. The first checkbox is Delete Confirmation. If we delete something in the program, it will require a confirmation of this operation. It's up to your taste to set or not to set. The next checkbox is Enable Note Events Delete. Since CasmEdit is rarely used for note editing, it doesn't really matter what you choose. File Overwrite Prompt is also up to your taste. Here's the next checkbox that is very important. This is the Event Editor and CasmEditor simultaneously. It means that the MIDI editor and the CasmEditor are open at the same time, and you can switch between those windows. If you are just starting to use CasmEdit, do not check this checkbox. You will understand for yourself whether you need it or not later. I've been using CasmEdit for a long time. I can check the box. Next is the Clear Casm part on MIDI file loading. You can decide for yourself whether you need it or not later. And another checkbox is to check for program updates via the internet at start. There is nothing much to say here. If you want the program to check for updates, check it. If the checkbox is not set, then you can check the update manually by selecting the main menu item, Help, Check the Update, in the main program window. For the CasmEdit program to work correctly with the instruments in the style files, you need to specify the model of your synthesizer. This is done by pointing to a special file that contains a description of all the instrument banks in your Yamaha synthesizer model. You can select a file by clicking on the button and opening the CasmEdit application folder. The instrument description file has the ins extension. The program ships with a limited number of those files for some old synthesizers. For example, let's choose PSR740 model. If your synthesizer model is not in the list, you can download the instrument descriptions file for almost any model from the internet. You can search for the ins file of your synthesizer model on the internet yourself. Also, you can use this download ins file button with a link to a page with files for different models. Press the button, the browser opens. On this user-friendly site, there are many ins files of instruments for different models of Yamaha synthesizers. Choose your model. Let's choose this synthesizer as an example. Save file as. The file is saved. Open the downloaded zip archive. Select copy file. And let's paste this file where it should be, that is, in the CasmEdit application folder. Right here we insert it. Administrator rights are required to write to this folder. Yes, we allow it. So we should have a new entry in the list of instrument files. There it is. Now we can choose it. There are two buttons below the instrument file selection. The first button is to open the CasmEdit data directory. Everything that the program does, all files, temporary or permanent, all will be placed in this folder. Using the second button, you can open the main CasmEdit folder, which contains the executable file and all other files necessary for the program to work. Go to the second tab, Event Color. Here you can configure the display of strings in the MIDI editor of the style part. For each type of MIDI messages, you can customize the background and the text color to your taste. To change the color, you need to right-click or left-click on the line with the type of MIDI message. Left mouse button changes the background color. Click the left button, select some other background. Let it be this light yellow. Click OK. Right mouse button changes the text color. We'll choose blue. This way, you can customize the entire displayed MIDI message table with colors that suit your tastes. On the next tab, Casm Display, you can adjust the colors of the lines in the Casm editor. Overall, everything is the same, except here you can only adjust the background color. Text is always black. We change, for example, this color to something like this. You can customize the colors that you like, and you can also return the default colors at any time. And here in the table on the right, you can configure the name of the actual MIDI channels on which the MIDI style data will be played. There are only 16 channels, and starting from channel 9, you can set your own channel names. There are two channels for the drum part, the 9th and the 10th. One channel for the bass, two channels for guitar parts, a channel for pads, and two channels for additional musical phrases. This is how Yamaha engineers recommend you use MIDI channels. Next, go to the File Association tab. Here you can associate the main extensions that are used for style files with the CasmEdit program. But it's not as simple. The thing is that this operation involves writing to the registry of the Windows operating system, which requires increasing the rights to the level of administrator. And we are running the program as a normal user. Now we will try to associate the file extension, but we didn't succeed. We are told that in order to perform the file extension association, there are not enough permissions to write to the Windows registry. So to be able to write it, we click the OK button, we close the program, and we run the CasmEdit again, but this time as the administrator. Yes, we want to allow. Now reopen the settings window. And now we will succeed. Associate with the CasmEdit program. Yes. You can do the same for all types of style files that you use. Again, we will unload the program and run it again, but not as the administrator, but as a regular user. Open the settings window again and go to the next tab, Language. Here you can choose from several languages. The default language is English. By choosing a different language, you switch the program interface to that language. The full translation is only made into Russian because it was made by the author. Let's bring back the English language. To fully return to English, a restart of the program is required. Unfortunately, the translation into other language has not yet been fully completed. If you want to have a complete translation into your language, then it is not difficult for a native speaker to do it. In order to perform a complete translation, you need to select the language file from the list and export the translation file to some temporary directory using context menu item Export Language File. For example, we export the German translation file to this file. Now let's see what the file is. Let's choose the program we will open the file with. Notepad will do, a simple text editor. So we see that the language file is a regular text file. All the lines that need to be translated are entries that look like the following: a number, the equals sign, and the actual translation text. And above the line, after the semicolon, there is a phrase in English which needs to be translated. For example, here is a line with the end character followed by the word file, and below is the translation of that word. Let's find the place where translated lines stop. So now we are close. Well, it looks like that place is somewhere near the line 390. Yep, the translation ends here, and after it, everything is not translated. If you translate the remaining lines in this file, then you can import this file back into the CasmEdit program using the context menu item Import Language File. Of course, this can only be done by running the program as the administrator, because it is impossible for a normal user to change something in the program files folder. In addition, to return the translation file back, you can also send this file to me and thereby share your work with other users of the CasmEdit program. On the next tab, you can choose the color scheme of the program, or skin. Here, in this control, select the approximate appearance of the program. There are more than 100 different color designs of the program, skins. The program will look like the design that you choose here. There are a lot of design themes, so I'm sure you will be able to find the colors that you like. I'll choose a simple theme for now. For example, I like this one. You can disable skins at any time. If you uncheck the Use Skin checkbox, the program will look like a regular Windows application. So the German language is selected. Let's bring back English and restart the program. Also, we will return the design theme back by setting the Use Skin checkbox. I recommend that you turn off Skin Effects checkbox. It enables various visual effects of UI elements when hovering with the mouse, loss of focus, etc. The next switch is very important to display. Let's discuss it in more detail. This checkbox is called Font Scale. At this moment it is checked and the font scaling is being performed. Let's open some style and see what MIDI and CASM editors look like. There is an examples folder on the desktop. We choose the style, not the MIDI file. The style is loaded. Open the CasmEdit editor. That's what it looks like. Let's remember approximately how everything looks. Now we will change the size of the Windows system fonts. This is usually done for monitors with a high resolution of 2K, 4K or more. Let's increase it. Set the font to 150%. You have to log off to apply it. Let's re-enter. See how the icons on the desktop have increased along with fonts. Everything should increase to 150%. We run the CasmEdit program again. It can be seen that everything has become larger. Our font scaling checkbox has worked. All fonts have become of larger size. Everything is now larger. Let's see what the CasmEdit editor looks like. Here too, the font has become of larger size, and all the controls have increased accordingly. But let's consider that you don't want the strong font enlargement to happen. You want to use the program with original scaling, ignoring the display setting made in Windows. Open the program settings and uncheck Scale Fonts. We relaunch the program and see that our small fonts have partially returned. Look at the CasmEdit editor. The size of fonts and controls in the window has decreased, which could be more convenient for you. The choice is yours. You can enable font scaling or you can disable it. So, what else do we have here? The contrast display chord mute and note mute switch. This applies to those two controls of the custom style selection editing window. In the current color scheme, the selected and unselected items are displayed in very visible white and orange colors. However, in some skins, there may be a situation that the selected and unselected items differ very slightly. By the way, you can click directly on the editing element to change it. And in this case, this very checkbox of contrast display of those elements will help. Alright, I opened the wrong editor. There we go. The colors are white and dark gray. A lot of contrast. Let's not save the changes. Well, or you could just choose a different design theme. On to other settings. The Show Hints checkbox. No explanation is required here. To show or not is up to you. And the last tab left is MIDI setup. Here you can choose a synthesizer to play parts of the style. And so this completes the configuration of the program. The next issue is how to make a portable version of the program. Sometimes people ask me how to do it. Making a portable version is quite simple. We already know that in the program settings, there are two links to two program folders. One of them is the program directory, and the other is the data directory. During its operation, the program creates all temporary files in a separate data directory, as required by the Windows security model. There are no changes to files in the program directory. All files there remain unchanged. Those are executable files as well as all the necessary files for the program to work. The program itself does not write anything neither to the Windows registry nor to any folders except the data folder. Therefore, to make a portable version, copy the contents of this application folder to a flash drive into a separate directory with any name. And it will be possible to run the CasmEdit program directly from this flash drive. However, even if you run the program from a flash drive, the data folder will still remain in this place on the computer that you inserted your flash drive into. If you want to change the location of this directory, then use the CasmEdit portable file, which is in the application folder. What is it? It is a startup batch file where path app is specified as program parameters. Path is the key for specifying the location of the data folder. And the text app says that the application folder is used as a data folder. That is the same folder where the executable file of the CasmEdit program is located. Instead of the text app, you can directly specify the full path where this data folder will be located. Just like this. And this is where the configuration files of the program will be saved, as well as all temporary files. If you want to use the portable version with the data path, then you should no longer run the executable file. You should run the shortcut where the new data path is specified. That's actually all. All that remains is to demonstrate the uninstallation of the program. Everything is as usual here. Uninstalling the program is very simple. Start All Programs, CasmEdit. Select Uninstall. Do you want to uninstall? Yes, we want to. All. The program has been uninstalled. In fact, the CasmEdit folder in the program data still remains, keeping the settings that you made. If you want to completely delete the CasmEdit program, then you need to delete this folder manually. Thank you for listening.